Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, we are tuned in to the Lone Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and my main man,
JC
John Coleman.
Yo, what's poppin'?
I bet nobody
No, people
will
definitely
be able to figure out
People definitely picked
where
up.
I went sideways.
I did. You said we instead of you are. You said we are, talking in the third person omniscient.
Wow. What is that? Too much watching WWE and The
No,
Rock?
it's called WWF, and no, I learned that in like algebra. Or something
It all
in middle
started.
school.
It all started because John and I, off camera, were discussing what if
Dustin.
we didn't have that big obnoxious
Yeah,
intro.
yeah.
And John's like, Dio, you can do that.
You could do whatever you want.
I make the rules.
We could literally in the episode here now upload it and charge people for it, and people would still buy it.
Dio, I wouldn't buy it.
I
Come
would.
on, you gotta give me value.
I would.
You gotta give me value, man. We are literally weeks away from putting this year behind us.
I know. 1 year closer to that, either that asteroid hitting us or that solar flare locking us back to the 1800s. One of the two is coming.
The solar flare is
Yeah.
going to knock us back to the 1800s. Like, do we lose all modern
Everything.
medicine?
I don't know.
All
Whatever's
technological
whatever's
advances?
whatever's in the vial. But it's equivalent to like if you put your cell phone in the microwave and just turn it on for 10 seconds. Like you can't recover that cell phone. The same thing would happen here with fryer infrastructure. Cannot wait.
Interesting.
You didn't
I
know
hope that happens in about 75, 85 years.
Why so long? Why
Because
wait?
I won't be here for it. I'm only planning to go into about 107.
AI is going to accelerate to where you can upload your consciousness to the cloud.
Yeah.
I say 20, 25
I'm not
years.
going to disagree with you. I'm sure shit not going to sit in this seat and be like, you're wrong, John.
But it's fine. Eventually, we can just give chat something, GPT, whatever the hell you want to call it, AI, just our ideas for the episode, and then they can replicate our voice, and we'll never have to sit down and record another episode again.
That would not be fun.
I know it would.
We have fun doing this. At least I have fun doing this. You may call this work.
No, you're good at, yeah, we have fun.
Yeah, we have fun. Yes, I make this fun for you. I don't even know what you consider fun.
You know what I consider fun, Dustin.
Being left alone.
Getting high and playing video games and being left alone.
That's
it, man.
Creepily sitting at a very bougie bar by yourself.
Yes, by myself.
Drinking bougie drinks.
Yeah, by myself.
Wanting to be recognized, but not wanting to have to talk to people.
Correct.
Yeah.
Recognize
You don't
like,
be noticed.
I don't want to be noticed. I just want like someone to be like, oh, he's somebody, but I don't know. Let me just let him in, type thing. That's all I need. That's all I want. I don't want accolades. I don't want blingy, flashy things. I just want to be left alone forever in perpetuity.
So, but that puts a lot of onus on me to
You
have
are
to bring...
you are the figurehead. Jay and Silent Bob. I'm Silent Bob. It's Jay and Silent Bob. It's you.
I get to be Jay, but everyone likes
the
Silent Bob
lone,
better.
The Lone Offers a Podcast with who? Dustin. It doesn't say JC up there.
And no one can see the with Dustin Owen.
but it's
that was
there.
your fault because that was the very first graphic you came up with.
And it's stuck with us to this day.
Yeah. I don't even like the name of the show.
I
We're
know.
stuck
Well,
with
we
it.
are little, but listen, we've crossed that bridge.
No, if you told me I can change the intro, then we can change the name of the show.
No, you've done your work saying it's TLOP online.
I've tried.
So now we're gonna have
I've
to go.
tried. T-Lop online.
Yeah.
T-Lop online.
Yeah.
Y'all listen. If you're in growth mode, if you're a loan officer, yes, you got to go to T-Lop. You're a T-Lopper. Call us T-Lop.
Yeah.
I was this close. If you're watching us on YouTube, I'm holding two fingers up, and they're less than half an inch away from each other. I was this close from having my vanity license plate say T-Lop.
You should have. What?
I'm just not that guy.
You just need to get.
I'm so close to being that guy.
We need to get you the company like Lamborghini, Audi, the
Never.
orange Audi,
Never.
to go with it. You got to go.
Dennis Miller can drive his. Is that an R8?
Yeah, you don't have that no more.
Now he wrecked it.
I know.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm in a Ford Explorer, and I'm in a fancy Ford Explorer. Don't get me wrong; it has a big engine in it. But give me a Ford Explorer. That's kind of where I want to be.
Someone out there, whoever it is, T-Lap Nation, please, for Dio hates gifts, but this will be great. Someone get him a customized license plate that says T-Lap.
I have a customized license plate. It says, "Sure, why not?"
No, on your current car?
Well, it's in order. I got to wait for the prisoners to get the order, and then they have to stamp it. Then they have to send it to me, John. But it takes 4 to 6 weeks.
No shit.
Yeah, I chose to go with "Sure, why not?"
Hold on. You went with sure why not over T-Lap, and
Yes. Yes.
more questions than answers.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
These people are like, just get on with
No,
the
it's
show.
fine.
What are we going to talk about today, John?
Well, since this
I was last episode.
you
I
asked
got
me
to
a
pick
question
last.
and then interrupted me.
I do that all the time.
You
I do
asked
that
me a
so
question.
well.
John, what are we going to talk about? It doesn't matter what's your name. It doesn't matter. Go ahead, Rob.
What would you like to talk about, John?
the end of the year and, giving people false hope heading into the new year. And here's what you need to do to game plan and prepare. First, you need to look back at the year that was. You have to look back and, mark down your wins, but also notice your shortcomings and your failures and try to correct those into the new year. And then when you hit the new year, hit the ground running. So don't wait for the first to start game planning. Start planning now, because what does D.O. always love to say? Many fail to plan, but failing is planning.
Wow.
I tried, man. I tried.
Well, we've done a lot on business planning, budgeting. Like the past 30 days, 45 days of content has been relevant to the time of year. Yes. And if y'all want a business plan, it's not too late. We crushed it
Yeah, you did.
for MGIC, or MGIC crushed it for us.
Yes.
Mike McAllister and Power LO crushed it for us. But we brought the noise to over 1,400 mortgage professionals.
Shit.
We're going to do it again. If you missed it, we're going to do it again. It is on the 19th of December. You can register for free. It's a TLOP exclusive. Go to our website, as John likes to tell you all, tloponline.com, TLOPonline.com. Go there. You can register. It's a real hands-on experience where you're going to be taught the tools and the tactics of what you need to do so that you can achieve your sales goals, right? So if that's what you want to get into, but like, look, if they're looking for something about attitude and perspective and giving gratitude, like y'all, we once, instead of doing an episode, we posted a keynote that I gave to a group of 300 mortgage professionals.
Yeah.
I think we posted that in January.
Was that this year? Shit.
Was it this year,
I
January?
I have no idea.
No, it was like episode around 200. It may have been 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. So you can go watch that. It's still relevant, good content. But what I heard you say, John, was something along the lines of what's in store for 24.
Yeah.
Like you and I like to get cute and creative. Sometimes we get too cute, too creative.
Yeah.
What's in store for 24? You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
When we'll do this one like a little bit larger, not just for mortgage loan originators. Like last episode, Lou, we knocked it out of the park for LOs. If you're an LO who was looking to start originating loans in other states and you're wondering like, well, where do I start? What do I do? We did a whole entire episode for you. And in fact, I kept on saying like our friend, our T-Lopper, our fan up in Pennsylvania. I never gave the guy's name though from that episode. So shout out to Will. And Will, I'm going to butcher your last name.
First initial.
B.
There
It's
you
like
go. Will B.
Bosinger.
Bossinger.
It's very long and very German, but let's just say Will. But it was Will in Pennsylvania that we kept on referencing in that episode. So shout out to Will and thank you for the question, because the question led to a whole entire podcast episode geared specifically towards mortgage sales professionals. But today, man, this is going to be realtors, home buyers, home sellers, anyone looking to possibly purchase real estate, as well as the mortgage community. Let's go and do an episode and talk about what's in store in 24. But I'm going to leave off the whole business planning, the gratitude, the perspective, the attitude, all that matters. But we've done a lot of it. And if you want more, you can go back and consume our old content. It's hosted on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find podcasts, or better yet, because you can watch us as well as listen to us, go to YouTube.
Word.
Go to YouTube, subscribe, and obviously on every single one of our social media handles, we are at the Loan Officer Podcast. You can just consume all the shit we've done throughout the past 3+ years.
Word. Yep.
But like right now, when we're going into 2024, what does that horizon look like? Well, if you haven't been living underneath a rock, I almost said box, but I'm like, well, if you're living under a box, it's pretty easy to get out of it. Rocks are much harder. So if you have not been living under a rock, here's what you do know. Here we are, middle of December. Rates are finally starting to come down. Finally. If you subscribe to our newsletter, I wrote about it. Like, if you listen to Barry Habib, if you follow Dan Radwich, like, y'all, this is finally happening. Now, we're getting some economic news, specifically employment news, that isn't necessarily what you'd be cheering for if you're cheering for lower rates, but it feels like the market shrugged that off. The market was like, fake news, hashtag fake news, and moved on. Or the market's like, that's not enough to tell us that we have inflation in check. The market feels like Jerome Powell and his cronies have done enough to halt explosive inflation, possibly reduce growth to the U.S. down to zero, if not a negative number. A negative number would be a recession coming our way. And with lower interest rates and still really solid employment, we are going to see all of these buyers who have been salivating at their opportunity to gain a piece of the American dream. They're going to have more opportunities because homeownership will become more affordable. Rates have gone from 8 to 7. They're on their way to 6, and we feel like they're going to be at 5.
Uh-oh. Shit, I might get...
Within the next 12 months.
What?
Within the next 12 months. Now, no one knows that, right? That's not a certainty, but that's something that as certain economic news is released, that is a direction that we feel like we as the people in the industry, the talking heads, the economists, the soothsayers, the people who look in crystal balls, etc., we feel like that's the direction we're going to go, but we're going to be able to do so without a lot of pain. Now, I'm under the belief that we're going to have a rockier landing than I think what is being predicted. I think we will see a hard recession, but that's just my educated guess. Right? I could be dead wrong. Wouldn't be the first or the last time that I was dead wrong, but we're heading in that direction. According to my friends over at the Mortgage Bankers Association, the MBA, the good news for mortgage lenders and for real estate professionals, we will see more transactions in 24 than we did in 23. That would be a good thing. And hopefully we're going to see more transactions, but less people able to facilitate those transactions because we will see even more mortgage loan originators not renew their license. We'll see even more realtors not pay their dues and realize that this may have been a good idea at the time, but they're not cut out for this industry, at least not in today's day and age, doing what it takes to do it. Maybe some of them were trying to do it part-time. Maybe some thought it was a side hustle. Now they're quickly realizing, no, this is a white-collar profession that requires blue-collar work ethic. Like, this is not something that you side hustle. This is not something that you part-time.
Yeah, it's not Etsy.
It is not Etsy.
I've never been.
Not Tupperware. It is not Mary Kay. It is not
Cutco
31
knives.
bags, not Cutco knives. Cutco knives is more for like you're 18 in college and someone tricked you into making $40
I
an
thought
hour.
I was going to be so rich doing that one summer, Dustin, until I had to go back to my mom and ask her for $300 to buy said knives.
And that's what your mom said,
And
not
she's
my
like,
baby.
he's like, not today. What the fuck? Yeah.
Oh, man. No. So what are we looking at? We're looking at better is what we're looking at.
You know what I hear? Knowing nothing about the mortgage industry, everybody was complaining about rates and they weren't wanting rates to come back down. But guess what? When rates go back down, you have more competition because there's more buyers vying over the same property.
100%. Like, look, we are not, I'm going to put it out there. We are not going to be able to solve for the inventory issue. Like, we just as a country, as a society, cannot build fast enough, cheap enough. Can't. So that ain't going to happen. So we are going to have an issue with more buyers than sellers. Now, it's interesting. There's legislation being introduced from a senator, I believe, in Oregon or Washington State. And I do not think that this legislation has a snowball's chance in hell of passing.
Okay.
But this senator wants to draft a bill, have the bill voted on, and obviously he wants it approved. That's where I think, it's not going to get approved, where it would make it illegal or it would make it difficult, next to impossible, for large corporations to purchase single-family homes. Now, I'm not here to argue that would be good or bad. Trust me, a certain part of me would love to see that. A certain part of me would love to see that, but I know there's people on the other side of the coin that are like, Dustin, companies like BlackRock don't own but a fraction of all of the single-family homes. Although Jeff Bezos is currently trying to fund a company that wants to go out and buy single-family homes. And there's various research publications out there that state that yesterday's starter home is going to be a starter rental for the buyer of tomorrow, meaning you start off by renting a single-family home with the hopes of buying it after a certain period of time. Right? There are companies that are already offering some kind of a shared equity. And we know from doing awesome podcasts with guests like Sunira with Stacks, right? Florida's first and only fintech unicorn, which, by the way, if y'all are not consuming and sharing these episodes that we're doing, people like Sunira, people like Carlos Navarro, like these are big names in their industry. Like if you are in credit card processing, if you are in fintech, you know Sunira, right? If you are in the acting space, you know Carlos Navarro, but these are also fantastic humans who invest in others' professional development, who have decades of experience that they want to share and teach from. Go back and make sure you're watching and listening to those episodes, right? Carlos Navarro is a phenomenal guest. He's super funny, high energy. Sunira is one of the most successful people I personally know, right? How many people do you know took an idea and turned it into a billion-dollar company, right? She was recently a guest. So nonetheless, make sure you're tuning in to those particular episodes. And now I went down a rabbit hole, John, that I don't know if I'm going to come back.
I don't know how to tie this one back. You were talking about something.
What was I talking about? The market? Oh, I know what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Being adaptable to change in technology, being open to it, right? The reason why Sunira has that billion-dollar company is because her bosses, those two old men that she worked for that didn't want to listen to her idea, they weren't willing to adopt and change. I need to also be that same way, less like them, more like Sunira, where I was explaining to people what's going on in our industry, what should we anticipate seeing in 24. We should definitely be anticipating that more corporations will be buying these homes. Although more homes are going to become available, you're going to have more corporations trying to buy them. You have a senator out in the West Coast who wants to draft legislation that prevents that from being able to happen. However, there's plenty of research articles that are coming out, and they're talking about that the first-time home buyer of tomorrow will look different than the first-time home buyer of yesteryear, because the first-time home buyer of tomorrow may start off by renting that home. And they'll enter into some kind of a fractional ownership agreement with the seller, because maybe the seller is an institution like BlackRock.
There you go.
And that's where I was going. And I dug myself out of that rabbit hole, John, because as I was explaining that, I was thinking, oh my God, we produced a badass episode a couple weeks ago with Sunira that I want more people to go check out. And how did she become this fintech unicorn? Why? Because she looked at an industry and said, wow, that's archaic. We can make it better.
Mm-hmm.
We as mortgage and real estate professionals, we as home sellers as well as home buyers, we can't be trying to do things that worked in 1992 or 2002. We got to be looking at what's going to work in 24 or even in 32. That's 2032. And what does that landscape look like? Because this whole episode is all about like what to expect in 2024. What's in store for 24? I think that's in store. More technological advancements, more changes. Yes, lower interest rates. Woohoo! Yes, with lower interest rates comes more competition. More sellers. Woohoo! More institutional buyers. And then you have technology that's going to come into it and say, well, wait a minute. What if those institutional buyers end up solving for the greatest pain, which is that ability to bridge the gap between affordable and unaffordable, and they can allow a potential home buyer, first-time home buyer, to buy their house, but by renting it first, and then have some kind of an equity share agreement. Or maybe they have a way to help that person who couldn't buy, but in return, the person who bought, because they partnered with some kind of an institutional investor, institutional home buyer, they themselves have to then give up a portion of the equity. So John, to give you an example, you couldn't afford that $400,000 house on your own, but I, the institutional investor, the hedge fund, the VC out of Silicon Valley, I was able to help you purchase it. But in exchange, we figured out, hey, look, this home's going to appreciate by $10,000 per year. Every dollar over $10,000 that your home appreciates per year, John, I get. You get the first 10, I get every dollar amount after that. And you're like, dude, are you helping me become a homeowner? I'm like, yep. And this payment's going to be affordable? Yep. And I don't need that much money out of my pocket? I'm like, yep. You're like, dude, sign me up all day long. I get to become a homeowner. It's a place of my own. It offers stability. It offers pride, all the benefits of homeownership. And I'm paying down a note and I'm gaining equity. Not the way that I bought my first house, not the way that my parents bought their first house, or even my grandparents bought their first house, but it could be the way that my children buy their first house, right? So that's something in 24 we're going to have to be cognizant of, right? As well as, dude, what's AI going to do? I plan on having Pavan on in about 6 more months, because I just had one of the people on the forefront of artificial intelligence who's also in the mortgage space, an accomplished business owner, a CEO. And we did a whole entire episode. I can't wait to have him back in 6 months to figure out how much has advanced in just those 6 months. But we're going to have to start embracing it ourselves. In our marketing and lead generation activities, from how we process a loan to how we create content. I mean, what does our landscape look like 3, 5, 7 years down the road? I don't think any of us know. But all we can do is have our eyes and ears to the ground, our head on a swivel, and be open to it being different, Right? Go read the book Who Moved My Cheese. I think that's Ken Blanchard. Blanchard. Butchered the author's name, but not the title of the book, Who Moved My Cheese, because we're going to have lots of cheese being moved with these opportunities, right? Yeah. It's good opportunities. And then we have things like the naysayers who think a bubble's coming.
Ain't no bubble.
Man, I'm going to tell you what. I just read a recent article.
You'd be the first one to say for years there's no bubble. And now you're going to change your tune?
No, hell
okay,
no.
Just making sure.
No, I'm still on that camp of no bubble. There is still some dude out there. I want to find you, by the way. But he is not a T-lopper. You had created some really cool content with me 2 or 3 years ago. We put it on LinkedIn. I was trying to fuck around with boosting shit. Still haven't figured that out, by the way. Looking for an advertising agency that can come in, look at us, look at our business idea, and be like, yo, I can produce you. I can blow you up. I can help you make hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm like, yes, sign me up. I need that person in my life. But nonetheless, because we boosted it, then it got in front of more people. It worked in its way. And this dude, who was like a dentist or an engineer in the greater Chicago area, he wanted to go tit for tat with me about a bubble and how he was going to become mega rich buying all the properties when the bubble burst. And we were arguing this like in 2020.
Yeah.
Here we got 3 going on 4 years later. Hey, homie, I'm not ready to do my victory lap yet, but you should be ready to admit defeat and concede. Because even if home values drop by 30% tomorrow, I still win. So, no, John, I'm still in that camp of there's not a bubble. In fact, I was going to point something out that just came out of Case Shiller. So I learned of Case Shiller because Barry Habib talks about Case Shiller all the time. And Barry Habib is someone I tune into to figure out, hey, what's going on in the markets? Like, how do I learn what's going on in the markets? And the article basically stated that only 1.8% of all homeowners have negative equity. Right? That means you owe more on your mortgage than what your home is worth. 1.8%. Wow. Less than 2 out of every 100 homeowners has negative equity. By the way, negative equity is not a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if you have to sell your home. But I could owe 200 on a home that's worth 100. As long as I can still like owning the home and I'm still fine paying the mortgage and I can afford the mortgage, what does it matter? I once owned a home, true story, that was worth $136,000 and I owed $236,000.
That's party.
Today, I own that home. It's worth $350,000 and I owe $136,000 on that house. It never bothered me that I was upside down. I could afford it. It made a good rental. It cash flowed. And I wasn't in a position where I had to like get rid of the property. So I maintained, retained, and today it's an asset of mine. It's a cash flowing rental property. So again, just because 1.8% of homeowners have negative equity still isn't bad unless they have to do something like liquidate that particular. It's like when my 401k goes down by 10% because it's a bad month.
Yeah, you ain't cashing it out yet.
No.
Unless you're me.
10 to 14 years before I can start dipping into that thing. Right? Like, let's say 14 years before I can actually start. That doesn't matter what it does today. So anyhow, and then, obviously, like anything, there's definitely some markets, according to this CoreLogic report, using this Case Shiller data. And I think it's a CoreLogic report utilizing Case Shiller data. Nonetheless, bear with me on this one. Let me name you some markets that you should look. If you're in this market, you're leading in not the right kind of way. So negative equity is a little bit worse in certain markets. It's obviously a lot better in other markets. The markets where it's worse, Louisiana, 6.1% of homes in Louisiana are underwater. Iowa, 4.92% of homes in Iowa are upside down. Oklahoma, 4.13% of homes in Oklahoma are underwater. North Dakota. Hey, shout out to Kayla up in North Dakota. This is her market.
Shout out Bismarck.
3.71% of homes in North Dakota. In Kentucky, the Bourbon State. Bluegrass State. I like to think bourbon, you say bluegrass. 3.42%. That's a lot higher than 1.8.
Yeah.
But, hey, look, If you're in California, believe it or not, as much as people love to knock California, only 0.63% upside down. Nevada, only 0.72%. Arizona, only 0.82%. Florida, only 1.04%.
Shout out Florida.
And then coming up your way to Massachusetts,
Who?
only 1.12%.
It is the best state in the District of Columbia.
None.
What is it called?
Best state in the union?
Yeah, that union. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, Massachusetts is the best state in the union. Or
I'm
Florida?
joking.
You're joking. Yeah. So,
I have a question for you.
and by the way, it was the report came out of CoreLogic, but they were utilizing Case-Shiller National Home Price Index and basically stating that because 45% homes have appreciated by 45% since March of 2020. That's the reason why we as a country are looking pretty rock solid when it comes to homes that could or could not be upside down.
Yay.
Yay!
Isn't there about to be some government? What's going to happen in the world that's going to be happening? Isn't there some like political stuff happening or some shit?
Always, John. There's always some political stuff happening. Obviously, we have to fund the government, and the House and the Senate can't necessarily agree on a budget. They keep on coming up with Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid. The House has having a very difficult time keeping a leader. So because of that, there's a lot of discontent. People aren't getting along. They're not necessarily cooperating and collaborating at the level that they would. So yeah, you definitely have that going on. And we have an election. 2024 is a big presidential election year. So it ought to be interesting to see how the markets move during election years, because there's a lot of data and statistics that follow election years.
There you go. That's all I wanted to mention. I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, and typically during election years, you see a whole lot of nothing happens because neither side wants to do too much.
I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, like if you are the incumbent party, you don't want to do anything that is going to be too controversial because it could impede your chances of retaining power. And then if you are not the incumbent party and you're trying to have your party take over, let's say, the presidency, you sure as heck don't want to allow your opponent to pass any legislation that could give them good favor with the voter. So you tend to look at election years as a big nothing burger in terms of anything like with policy being passed that would be polarizing in one direction or the other. But we have a split House, and so because of that, it makes it difficult to get anything meaningful passed. And then you look at the House of Representatives and you're like, well, that's just a shit show right now. So yeah, from a election cycle, not a whole lot of things that I could foresee moving the needle. Geopolitical, yeah, like there's a lot of issues. Wars, right? Wars bring a lot of unrest, a lot of global economic unrest. I mean, sometimes wars bring a lot of spending. Spending could be pro economy, right? One could argue that World War II is the reason why we actually were able to get out of the Great Depression, right? All the spending that occurred in order to go to war in Europe, but as well as in Japan and the rest of the Asian Pacific Islands. But yeah, that's also going on in 2024. Like, what's in store for 2024? Yeah, we have elections, right? Those elections need to be followed. We have geopolitical events; they should be followed, right? What's going on in Russia, Ukraine? What's going on in Israel with that madness? They have to follow what's China doing and how's that going to impact their desire to take over the Taiwanese islands, right? So yes, you definitely have what's China's economy doing, what's India's economy doing, and what's the forecast for the 20 or 30 major world economies when it comes to growth. Too much to follow. Let's stick to housing. And speaking of housing, let me go ahead and give you another news report that came out recently that I just want to share some information with y'all. If you are looking for some wins, right? Oh, I need a big win. These are the markets that are anticipated to be some of the better markets in 2024 as it pertains to purchase activity. Don't even know if this market that's number one on the list even exists because I don't know if the state exists. Toledo, Ohio.
Jeez.
Yeah, Toledo.
The zips.
Yeah. Look, things are looking up. Thousands Thousand Oaks, California.
Unaffordable.
It is, but it's still looking to have a bit of a rebound year. Rochester, New York.
Dump.
Cold as shit, but guess what? It too is looking to have a rebound year. San Diego.
Not bad.
San Diego. Expensive.
Yeah.
Yep. I actually like the word Chula Vista better.
Chula Vista.
It's the whole San Diego, Chula Vista, Carlsbad market. But yes, that market is poised to do well. Riverside, California. Bakersfield, California.
Unaffordable.
I think Bakersfield's more affordable than San Diego.
I don't even know where that is.
That's why it's more affordable, John. For that reason only, it's more affordable. I could be dead wrong on there. People in Cali are going to fact check us.
I hope they do it out to the algorithm.
How about this one, John?
Yeah, I can see it.
Springfield, Massachusetts.
Nope. Worcestershire sauce.
Hey, why don't you shout
Worcester.
out to your neighborhood? What
Worcester.
neighborhood did you grow up in?
Springfield, Forest Park.
Okay, you go and buy in Forest Park. It's going to be a good time to buy.
Shout out.
According to this report. And then Worcester.
Worcester.
Is it Worcester?
Worcester. How do you pronounce that word? Worcestershire? Worcestershire?
Worcestershire sauce.
Oh my God.
Worcestershire sauce.
Is it Worcestershire?
It's Worcestershire.
You're adding like 4 syllables and 3 consonants, but okay.
All right, Worcestershire.
Worcester.
It's Worcestershire. Worcestershire. Anyhow, Worcestershire. I can't
Oh,
even
yeah,
say it
Worcester,
now.
bro. Worcester,
Hey,
man.
if you're right there in that Massachusetts-Connecticut line where we can't pronounce where you live,
Yep.
guess what?
Hey, it's a great market.
You made number 8. You made number 8. Grand Rapids, Michigan at number 9. And, hey, California's just having a rebound.
Come on, man.
California must be having a rebound because
Nope.
Los Angeles.
Unaffordable.
Not unless you're Shohei Ohtani. I can say that, motherfucker.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I can
700
say that.
million times.
I cannot say it 700 million times, but I did go to.
A Dodgers game once?
I did with you.
I know. I wore
I
all
did
pink.
I did go to a Dodgers game with you. No, I was talking about having to go to speech and language class in 3rd and 4th grade.
Oh, sorry.
where
I didn't
had
mean to trigger you, man.
Yeah, it's all right. I still work on it. Still work on some of my pronunciations and
talk to yourself.
enunciations.
You seem like the type to talk to yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, no, but this whole report, I believe it was in Realtor.com. We have it up on, guess what? TLOPOnline.com. We actually had the full report and the full article. I just went ahead and pulled a clipping. But yeah, it's basically looking at the 2024 existing home sale counts year over year. So they're looking at, when you look at how many homes will be sold, then these are the markets where more homes will be sold in 24 than homes that were sold in 23. That is what they're looking for.
That's sexy stuff we're talking about here.
Is it?
No.
No, not at all.
I mean, yeah, it is really like highly informative.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you should dig into that report a little bit more because there's definitely some markets when you compare it to the average from 17 to 19. Well, the average from 17 to 19 was still better in Thousand Oaks, in Rochester, in San Diego, basically every single one of these but Toledo. That's why Toledo's leading the charge.
Dump.
And then when you look at the existing home sales price, they're all up as well. Every single market is up. Then you look at the existing home median sale price year over year, and year over year, they're all showing a better sales price in 24 versus 23. And you look at the number of existing sale counts year over year, all of those were up. So that's what when I ranked those, I was ranking them, reading them off, really honing in on the fact that you're going to have more sales in 24 in those markets than you did in 23. But in some of those markets, it's not going to be more than what you saw in years like 17, 18, or 19.
Turn up for a check.
But better than what you saw in 2021, 22. So put everything in perspective.
Well, here's my way of putting a bow on this episode and giving you my prognostication. The number one way to generate wealth in America next year is going to be through home ownership.
And guess what it was last year?
Home ownership.
And the year before that?
Selling Square Grouper out of Miami.
Negative, Ghost Rider.
Do you
No,
know-
that's a good way to make some fast cash.
Hey.
But it's not a great way to build wealth. Home ownership still ranks number one.
Do you know what
Last time I checked with my friend Steve Harney, the number one way to generate wealth in America. The last time I checked with Dave Savage over at Mortgage Coach, Barry Habib.
Yeah.
Yes,
If
it's
you
home
talk to
ownership.
Scarface and Al Pacino in that movie, he'll tell you something different.
Will he then introduce me to his little friend? Yeah,
That's a great movie, man.
That's exactly how that goes. Hey, and then finally, because we didn't get a good chance to say this, I want to give a shout out to our upcoming episode. We don't do this enough, but we're gonna have a special guest on.
A preview?
Dr. Christy McMullen. Yeah, Dr. Christy McMullen is gonna be on. I can't wait. I was connected with her through her husband. Her husband's actually in the mortgage space. He now works for a large appraisal management company. But she has ways to educate, proven strategies to educate. That's what we do in the mortgage space, right? The real estate space. We're educators, financial advisors. You're an educator first. And she's going to come on and teach us things like sprinkle, sprinkle, splash, flood, drip, drip, drip. Think about that. Sprinkle, sprinkle, splash, flood, drip, drip, drip. It's initial contact, engagement.
Sprinkle.
Ask them to meet with you.
Drip.
Flood.
Oh.
Follow up, follow up, follow up.
Oh.
Yes. Or when you're making presentations, safe, logical, fun, memorable. Those are the 4 words. So I'm really excited to have her on, let her dive deeper into that. Just like I'm stoked to be heading to Tulsa, Oklahoma for a T-Lop live event.
Mm-hmm.
T-Lop in T-Town.
Mm.
T-Lop in T-Town. Living on Tulsa time. You don't know that song. Don't worry about it.
George Strait.
No, it's not. But good guess. Good guess. Nonetheless, we're going to be there on January 11th. So go to the website, check it out for details. That's where you can reserve your spot. No different than if you want to see what upcoming events we have. If you want to join us for a business planning on December 19th, we invite you to do so. It's going to be free and open to all mortgage sales professionals. Just go to the website. All the information you're going to need is on the website. On that note, if you like what we're doing on this show, please sign up for our newsletter. If you like what we're doing on this show and you want to support us, share this with not 1, not 2, but 3 people that you know that would benefit from our content. Make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. I am Dustin Owen on LinkedIn, or the other handles are at The Loan Officer Podcast. He is John Coleman. I am Dustin Owen. That's all the time we have for you today. We do look forward to catching you on the next episode. Peace.